and welcome back to my channel. I have my trusty mascot Ralph here. He came into the office with me today and it has knackered him out, so he is not a working dog, he's very much a home dog. Game week 5 was potentially the most stressful game week I've had so far, but also the most successful. It started off terribly, and I am talking terrible, but thankfully it did turn around. I am most grateful to Haaland. I'm so pleased that I captained him, and I had many other players that did really well as well. So we'll have a look at my team and then I will discuss my transfer options this week because I've got 2 free transfers. But before I get into the video, please do subscribe. I have hit over 700 subscribers. It's over 700 of you, it's crazy. And I've nearly got 2,000 followers on Twitter, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you so much for the support for my channel. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, because I check those analytics. It's something like 75% or 80% of my viewers haven't subscribed. So if that's you, I'm onto you, and I would love it if you subscribed. But now that's over with, let's have a look at my team. This is my current situation. All of my players have played this week, so that is why I can film this early. But there is the Leicester Man United game tonight, so I think my rank will probably drop. But overall rank, 149,000. That's good going, I'm very pleased. 85 points this week. Let's start with my new transfer. This was so frustrating and so typical. So if you watched my previous video, you'll know that I took Dyer out for Dunk, and I was team Dunk. Bring in the Brighton players, they're going to do so well. Now the good news is Dunk did score. The bad news is that it was an own goal. So that transfer did not go too well, but any of my loyal viewers will remember the week that I brought James in was a week that he blanked. So it could just be anytime I bring a transfer in, they'll do terribly and then they'll do really well the week after. You could use that as a tip potentially. Anyone I bring in, just wait a week and then bring them in, because that's when they will do well. Very sad about Dunk. I had a terrible night on Tuesday watching the game. Everything was going wrong, and I also made the really good decision to put Andreas on my bench, and then he went and got an assist, I think it was. Yeah, he got an assist. He got 6 points. His second best week since being on my fantasy team, but it's fine, these things happen. I seem to have a knack of putting people on the bench and then they do well, so that's another tip. Whoever's on my bench, put them in your team, because again, they'll probably score. Obviously, there was absolute pandemonium at the beginning of the week because James was ill, but we didn't know what was wrong, so lots of people transferred him out, which I'm surprised about. And my ongoing moral of my entire channel is don't knee-jerk reaction, don't take people out straight away, wait and see what's going to happen. So far that has paid off for me with Trent, Cancelo and Perisic. To an extent Martinelli, because he had a really good week this week, his best week so far. I'm waiting for it to pay off with Salah. Again, he's not doing terribly, but we want everything from Salah, so we're going to keep hold of him. The good news is it looks as though Reece James will be back fighting stronger than ever next week. I know the Chelsea defence hasn't been that great, but I'm hoping it will improve now that Fofana's coming in and he'll be in the right centre-back position. So fingers crossed, everything with Chelsea just falls into place nicely, organically, and that defence is strong. Anyway, I didn't get rid of James, I just put him on my bench, so he'll probably be making an appearance again next week in his rightful place. Starting from the top, Edison, I was so happy with. So I am tempted to take out Edison at some point. When that is, I'm not sure. But I've got 3 City players, and ideally, I think I would like a City attacker or defender if I'm going to have 3 City players. So very good result against Nottingham Forest. I do feel bad hoping Nottingham Forest lose some games because I've got such a soft spot for them and I was following them really closely last season. Now they're in the Premier League, I'm like, oh God, I liked just cheering you on and not really being too committed. Whereas now, there are some fixtures that come up, I find it tough. But thankfully, Forest weren't very good against City because it did my fancy Premier League team the world of good. Not too much to say about Edison. Upcoming fixtures wise, Villa, we should be fine. Spurs, it could go one of 2 ways. And then Wolves, good fixture. Manchester United, whilst they did not have the best start, they could be on the up now. So that's another one to kind of keep a close eye on. And then Southampton. So realistically, I will either wildcard him out or keep hold of him until game week 11. We shall see. As I said, real soft spot for Forest, so I am also looking at bringing in Henderson. He's had such a good season so far, points wise, fantastic. So we'll be keeping a close eye on him as well. Now, let's get into my main team. Cancelo, where did that goal come from, you absolute dreamboat? Best result so far this season, and I'm so delighted he's on my team. I think I may have said in my last video that I was thinking of getting rid of him, so Good thing I didn't. Again, I am terrible at predictions, so glad I kept hold of him. Very, very, very pleased with that result. And City's fixtures coming up, as we've just look promising. So hopefully we're going to get more points, more goals. Brilliant. You stay there, Cancelo. Trent, not the best. This seems to be a constant theme with Liverpool this season. It's just disappointing is probably the word to sum it up. And especially after his fixture against Bournemouth, where he pulled in 17 points. Amazing. 2 points isn't what I'm hoping for, but I think he will still be staying there. The Liverpool fixtures coming up, Everton and Wolves, I'm happy with. Then Chelsea, not entirely sure whether I want to stick with Trent and Salah. One of them may have to go. We will base it on performance over the next couple of weeks. So no knee-jerk reactions with Trent, but he is on thin ice at the moment. Dunk, we've gone over. Dunk. Oh, it's just typical, isn't it? I think Dunk will stay in my team because I have raved about Brighton players for so long. I can't take him out after one poor week. So we'll have some faith with Dunk. But yeah, that was not a fun evening in the Yelena and Ralph household. Perisic, another one disappointing because we know what he's capable of. He played the full 90 minutes, which is good. And I think it's salt in the wound, the fact that I did put Andreas on my bench, who scored 6 points. Perisic isn't one that I probably would have even considered putting on the bench for this game week. I was more thinking about Neto. And then when the whole James thing happened, for me it was a no-brainer bringing Neto, when it was actually probably should have thought a bit harder. Although I'll get to Neto in a minute. But Spurs fixtures again, so interesting. Spurs are playing Fulham, which I'm happy to keep Perisic for, but then they're getting trickier. So we've got City, Leicester, Arsenal, and then they get better for a short period of time. But I'm not really, I said similar to Dyer, and Dyer probably did well last week. I think the last time I checked, he looked as though he was going to get bonus points. I don't know if he did. But I'm not really tied to Spurs this year. I think it's because I started my season for the first time since I played fantasy football without Kane in my team, and I just haven't got that Spurs allegiance this year. So Perisic, the thing that's mostly keeping him on my team is the fact that so many people want him on. So I think I don't want to miss out if everyone suddenly brings him in. But I'm not really fully tied to him as it stands. Salah. Now, a good captaincy choice if you went for him over Haaland, or if you didn't have Haaland and you went for Salah, 20 points, and that's only 14 points difference. And at the moment, everything just fluctuates so easily, doesn't it? So, good call if you did captain Salah. He was my vice captain. I'm pleased he got 2 assists, but there's just something so off with him this season. It's really bizarre. The fact that his highest score so far this season has been 12 points, whereas you get Haaland that has scored 3 hat-tricks in 2 games. I don't know. Salah isn't really living up to the high price point. I am still waiting for that. Come on, Salah, do something. As I said, Liverpool fixtures, okay. But similar to Spurs, I don't think I'm tied to them. I feel as though there are better assets to bring onto my team, and cheaper ones too, that are actually pulling in those points. Salah is pulling in points, don't get me wrong. But for that price point, I don't know. I'm probably expecting a bit more. Salah staying there for now, but one to watch. Martinelli, very good score, 10 points and a goal. Yes, Martinelli. Arsenal this season, this is probably blasphemous. I'd like to go to an Arsenal game. The atmosphere looks incredible. The team are so hot on it. They are brilliant to watch. I am really thoroughly enjoying the Arsenal games. I used to enjoy them because they weren't doing too well. Now I enjoy them because it's just pure skill. Martinelli will be staying put. I may be bringing in another Arsenal player. Obviously they've got Manchester United on Sunday, which is going to be a very interesting one to see if Man U have found their form and their flow, because it could potentially be quite close. But the way Arsenal are playing, I think they're going to walk it. And then Everton and Brentford, solid. We will keep Martinelli. Gross, yes, it's disappointing, but last week he brought me in 11 points. The week before he was on 6, and the first week when I didn't have him on my team, 15 points. So Gross is a big point scorer. I think he did have an off week this week, which is fine. He did concede a goal and we had the own goal, so that was all a bit of drama. But 37 points so far this season, he's not going anywhere. And my rationale for bringing him in is the fixtures, apart from the Liverpool game in game week 9 when I might have wildcarded already. I think he looks good, so I'm sticking with Gross. Neto, slightly disappointing. I think I probably put too much faith in the fact that I assumed Bournemouth were going to be absolutely terrible, because they have had a wild week. It was all a bit dramatic, so I thought that might throw the players off, but apparently not. So 0-0, good on you Bournemouth. Neto kept a clean sheet, positive stuff, 3 points. He's on 12 overall. So Neto is another one where he may potentially be cut from the yellow team. Jesus, 6 points. I was shouting with joy at my TV when he scored. Brilliant, love to see it. Well done, Jesus. I'm hoping for another game week 2 scenario, 19 points, boom, boom, boom. But for now, we will take it. I feel like he's going to be such competition for Haaland to score the most goals, but we will see. I think his time is coming. There is time to shine there, Jesus. So again, he'll be staying as one of my forwards. The man, the myth, the blooming legend, Erling Haaland. Oh, yes. I cannot tell you, I did have a really slow day at work, so probably didn't really have much to focus on. But I was stressed about this captaincy choice. I was thinking about it all day. Do I change? Do I captain Salah? Do I take a risk on Jesus? No, I'll stick with Haaland. We'll fingers crossed he'll play, and then fingers crossed he'll perform. Minutes into the Forest game, I thought, I'm fine. I've made the right decision. Actually, the team sheet came out and I thought, yes, half of the battle is won, but the other half of the battle could potentially be uphill. It wasn't. That battle was straight down, basically in a lift, straight down. So happy with Haaland. Staying put. I'm so sorry what I said in the video before last where I was considering getting rid of Haaland. I won't be. So Haaland, a machine, a legend, incredible stuff. And then my bench is pretty much self-explanatory. Ward hasn't yet played, but hopefully he doesn't do as well as Edison did. Andreas, annoying, but we move on, these things happen. James was injured, and then Archer, nothing. He's just there. He's just present but not involved. So that is how my team did this week. On to transfer ideas. Now, there is another really tight turnaround this week. I haven't been able to work out the financial side of these decisions, so this is just what I'm thinking broadly, but I don't quite know how I would necessarily implement it. I thought I would share my views with you anyway, seeing as there are so many of you now, I feel held accountable. First up, Mitrovic, an absolute stallion. There is no way around it. I know he had the issue in game week 2, and this is funny because one of my friends captained him in game week 2 after the amazing performance in game week 1 and then got -2 points. But Mitrovic, every single week, apart from game week 2, it's just goal after goal. For an attacker, he is exactly what you want for £6.7 million. Amazing. He's scoring, he's on penalties, he's getting the minutes in, full 90 minutes in every single game. So good, so good. I'm so impressed. The only thing that I am a little bit apprehensive about, and I don't think I will bring him in for this reason, is the upcoming fixtures. Yes, he's a goal machine, but he's got Tottenham and he's got Chelsea in the next 2 weeks. So I'm thinking potentially game week 8, I will bring him in against Forest. And then from game week 8 up until game week 14, those fixtures are very appealing and I can see him just, again, knocking goals out of the park. I've had Dyer and I've had Perisic on my team. They're solid. Chelsea defence not quite so good, but now they have got Fofana, James is back. They're going to have a bit of a rejig of the team. I can imagine Chelsea, not to jinx it, but I can imagine Chelsea's defence being so much better once they've had time to gel. So again, I don't know whether it would be worth bringing in Mitrovic yet. From game week 8, I think that is the way to go, and at least I can watch him for the next 2 weeks and assess. If he does amazingly against Spurs, there may be an argument to bring him in ahead of Chelsea, even though that will be such a tough game for me to watch. If Mitrovic is scoring against Chelsea, and then I'm happy from a fantasy perspective, but very sad from a fan perspective. Next up, we have Tony. Again, if you have watched my channel, you will be fully aware that I've been banging on about Brentford players and Brighton players. Tony has gone a little bit downhill in the last couple of weeks, but then I wonder whether he's just gearing himself up for some good stuff. The fixtures coming up, we've got Leeds, we've got Southampton, we've got Arsenal. Up until the Chelsea fixture, they're very welcoming. So I'm very tempted to bring in Tony this week. I'm not sure who I would transfer out to get him, but I would make it work. So Tony, most likely going to appear on my team this week. After the Chelsea game, the fixtures are still good. So I could arguably keep him up to game week 16, and if I wildcard, bring him in. But I think I will be bringing him this week, so I do have 2 free transfers. A defender I am looking to bring in is Nico Williams. Similar to when I started my fantasy team and I was scared to bring Chelsea players in, where I do have a love for Forest, I've been apprehensive about bringing Forest players in, but they have some appealing fixtures now. They've got Bournemouth, Leeds and Fulham. Nico Williams is one that I've been following very closely, and I think now is the time to bring him in. Leicester, a more challenging fixture, but then they go on to Villa, Wolves and Brighton. So there is potential there. In terms of points, no, he's not doing fantastically. He did secure the 7 points against West Ham at the start of the season, and he's only 4.1 million. So if I am bringing in a more expensive forward, at least then I can free up some space. It will take some rejigging. He's only 4.1 million. So if I was to do 2 transfers, I'll have to think hard about who I take out for my defence. And if I'm taking a defender out, they are all, apart from Dunk, pretty pricey individuals. Realistically, if I'm taking out a defender, it'll have to be towards the top of the expensive scale so that I could afford to bring someone like Tony in or a more premium forward. So again, I haven't worked out the finances of this, but this is what's going on in my mind. And then a very exciting one, what a debut, Isak, dead leg, I'm sure he'll be fine. Wow, that is how you make a debut. My goodness, he scored a goal already. Brilliant stuff. I was so excited watching him play. And then the Newcastle fixtures, thank you football gods, because up until game week 11, fine, West Ham, I know, a little bit more challenging, but the rest of them, incredible stuff. And only 7 million, so, oh, I could bring in Isak. It's very tempting, and after he did such a great entry into the season, I'm sort of leaning towards Isak over Tony, although this could be one of those decisions that comes back on me. I don't know whether I'm just very excited by how fresh he is into the season and the fact that he just exploded into it. And if Isak isn't great, at least then I can bring in Mitrovic in a couple of weeks' time and we're all good to go. So in summary, the people that I have my eye on, Mitrovic in a couple of weeks' time, Tony, Nico Williams and Isak. Bringing in Nico will require me to have to pick out some defenders, and I am quite pleased with my defence, even though they're not nailing it every single week, all of them at the same time, which would be an absolute dream. I have had bursts from each of them, so it is going to be difficult. I'll have to assess the fixtures a bit more closely and decide what's going to work best for me. Realistically, if I'm going to bring in a new forward and get rid of Archer, I will have to make up the cost somewhere else. So, I mean, the best thing for me really would be to play around with my midfield a bit more, but then they are quite handy ones to bench and the cost isn't too great, so I think it is going to have to come from the defence. But we will see. I will do a lot of writing down what I can work out. Honestly, I focus more on my FPL finances than my own personal finances. That brings us to the end of this video. They are my ideas. That's how my team did. I tried to make it as succinct as possible. I'm sorry if I did ramble. But I would like to end this by just saying thank you so much for supporting my channel. I cannot believe how much it's grown. I think I uploaded my first Fantasy Premier League video about 3 weeks ago, maybe coming up to 4. And I did not expect the community to take me in and just help my channel grow. It's been lovely, and everyone that's messaged me privately or tweeted me or anything like that, just with support and offering help and advice, it's so appreciated. Honestly, I love it so much. I'm really enjoying making the videos, really enjoying talking about my team with a bunch of strangers on the internet and watching everything grow. So if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I appreciate it more than you'll know. And do follow me on Twitter at Yelena FPL. Everything else is down in my description. If you want to consistently remain above average, as I have been so far, fingers crossed this season, do have a look at Fantasy Football Hub. There is so much help on the site, and they've got a really handy app as well. So whenever I'm getting the tube into work, I'm always just on the app refreshing, doing player comparisons and all sorts. Do check out the link in my description below, and hopefully if you're not having a great time, it will help improve your teams, and if your team is doing well already, it'll make it even better. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.